Ariel, what does DJ have to gain from this fight?
Well, it's another notch on his belt. You know, he is the winningest champion in UFC history. He broke Anderson Silva's record in his last fight. We haven't seen him since October, and I still can't believe, like, when I see that footage, or B-roll, as Chael likes to put it, of DJ submitting Ray Borg the way he did back in October of 2017, I'm still blown away by it. I mean, this man possesses athleticism that we have rarely seen inside the octagon. So it's another notch on his belt. It's his 12th straight victory as a champion. That's very cool. But to me, this is all about Henry Cejudo. This is his chance to actually dethrone Demetrious Johnson. This is his chance to finally become a UFC champion. This is his chance to be the first guy to beat Demetrious Johnson. And I thought Cejudo put it perfectly when I spoke to him on Monday. He said, to me, beating DJ means more than being a UFC champion. That's how you have to sell this fight. I thought that they rushed Cejudo into the first title fight back at UFC 197, and quite frankly, I think they might be rushing him again. He's only on a 2-fight winning streak here. The problem is there's no one for DJ to fight at 125. That's why I really wanted to see the fight against TJ Dillashaw, but they needed someone. They're putting them on the same card, as I said earlier. I like that, but to me, this is all about Cejudo's chance to actually make history for DJ. There's not a lot. He beat him rather convincingly the first time around. It's going to be very hard to top that.
Ariel, and that's what we're left with right at 125. That's why we just bang our heads into the wall as friends of Demetrious Johnson, as fans of the sport of mixed martial arts. Why did you not take the fight with TJ? And look, at some point, the playground rules do carry over to professional sports. If one guy backs down, he loses. The school no longer looks at him as tougher than the guy who showed up on the playground when the bell rang. TJ Dillashaw is on the same card in the same state with the same license and is going to walk out one interview and 2 songs later. There is no justifiable reason for DJ to not be fighting him that I can comprehend. And I want to tell you this, and where I'm going with this, Ariel, is the question was, look, is he the greatest of all time? That is largely just an opinion piece. His skills are incredible, but he's got to be able to move weight classes or allow guys to come in down to his weight class to really be able to solidify that. Something that Daniel Cormier just did. And Ariel, I know 2 weeks ago you were saying he was the greatest of all time, but you were largely impressed with the fact that he actually changed the weight classes. So I think that that's a bit of a problem that Demetrious is going to have, and the only way that he gets this claim, if it's rightfully his, is like a wine. It's got to get better with time. And you go back and look at his career. Maybe someday Cejudo becomes this megastar, or Benavidez, or John Dodson, and then we can credit it to him, much like we were talking about earlier with Conor McGregor, when we thought that his road to the interim championship, which led to the featherweight championship and the lightweight championship and the fight with Floyd Mayweather, much as we thought that that was paved with a silver spoon because that's what we were told, we look back and go, well, wait just a second. Dustin Poirier was on that path, and so was Max Holloway. Turns out it wasn't so easy after all, but I think that Demetrious is faced with that. None of these wins, including should he get a second win over the great and young Olympic champion Henry Cejudo, is going to be perceived that great by the public. Because to your point, Ariel, we already saw it.
Okay, but Chael, let me defend DJ here for a second. This is, at the end of the day, the prize-fighting business. It's not the belt-chasing business. It's about trying to get the biggest prize possible. The UFC didn't offer him a good deal. Why should he fight a guy who has never won at 125, who has no history of making weight at 125? So remember, if TJ goes down and doesn't make weight, it's no longer a title fight. Why should he risk what he's doing right now, go through a training camp, his record, all that stuff, against TJ? If they want to do it, pay him. That's all he said from the beginning. He said, if you want this fight, pay me.
Yep. But excuse me, I have to counter you with 2 points, okay? And I'm not against Demetrious here, but what I am offering to you is, first off, he was offered the fight with TJ. Certainly that would pay more. We all know that Demetrious is in on the pay-per-view. Dana's made that very public, and that pay-per-view is going to do a lot better than him versus Cejudo. So I don't agree with you on the money. And secondly, the question specifically was about, is he the best fighter of all time? And I'm telling you, I can't fully answer that question because of the perception that he's not taking on some of those really big names, guys with big accolades. He is the biggest name with the accolades, and it's just hard for him to beat anybody. But it's tough for him to beat anybody in that division and then get that big bump. There's no surprise factor, kind of like we did see with Cormier. We did see a bit of a, wow, didn't see that coming moment.
Okay, but in what other division do you say to someone, okay, you're the best guy, like Tyron Woodley, you're the best guy 170, but you're not truly the best because you're not fighting Robert Whittaker. Why is he being blamed for not fighting a guy who's above him? That makes no sense to me. He's beating everyone and twice at 125.
So is your answer that he's the greatest fighter?
He is not the greatest fighter because he's a victim of a very weak division, and he has lost at 135. Daniel Cormier is undefeated at heavyweight. To me, that was never the argument. To me, you're saying he didn't show up. It's the playground rule. But at the end of the day, he did show up. He just said, pay me if you want me to do something out of my weight class. That's all.
But that's my point.
I don't understand. I don't even understand.
That's my point, is how he will be perceived. I had no other point than that. So
Okay.
It sounds like you're agreeing with me in a disagreeing tone.
No, I don't think that DJ is the bad guy in this scenario. That's just my 2 cents. Let's move along now to my favorite segment of the week. Let's go.
But where I regret that, Ariel, and you do this each week, is you're acting as though I'm saying he is the bad guy.
No.
I'm not saying that. You're asking me about purely perception. The perception is reality, which is he said no to TJ, and TJ said yes.
Well, no, he said no because he didn't get the money that he wanted. And the UFC put them on the same
You're saying
card.
why he said no. He could have said it for fear. He could have said it because he didn't like the weight class. He came out publicly, and yes, he did state the money, but he also said that TJ didn't deserve it. That's a quote from Demetrious. And once again, you're making it like I'm against Demetrious. I'm not. I'm just on you operating within the facts of history. He came out and he openly said if TJ wants to fight, he needs to come to 125 pounds and win at least one time. So you're not right that he just said it's about the money and I'll take on anybody. He did it. Ultimately, he said no.
I guarantee you if they would have paid him the money that he wanted, he would have taken that fight.
You would have taken the fight if it was for a certain amount of money. It's not about that. The question is purely to perception. Is he the best in the world? About legacy. You can't then just bring up the business side. Well, I would have done it for this or I would have done it for that. That's not what happened, so we don't have that piece of the detail. We have that one guy was offered the fight by his promoter named Dana White, and another guy said no.
Ariel and the Bad Guy. Sign up now for ESPN Plus.